specify the requirements as follows. So let me write down those points as follows. So types of requirements is what I'm writing now. What are the different types of requirements we have is what I'm writing here. Types of requirements are as follows. The first we call it as business requirements. Second, stakeholder or end user requirements. Third, transitional requirements. Four, solution requirements. Five, regulatory requirements. So these are the different requirements we will be having. So one is business requirement. Second, stakeholder or end user requirements. Third will be transitional requirements. Four, solution requirements. Five, regulatory requirements. These are the different type of requirements we will be having. Now, when you talk about business requirements completely focusing on goal, vision, strategy of the business. Because whatever the solution we provide, as I mentioned earlier a couple of times, it must be aligned to the goal and vision of the customer, right? So business goal and vision of the customer is what our solution must be aligned with. So when you speak to a business owner or someone, what is the information we gather from them, or what is the information we will be receiving from them, is completely relating to this, right? So business goal, vision, strategy, all these things comes under business requirements. Next, when it comes to stakeholder or end user requirements, what an end user wants or what an end user expects is what comes under stakeholder or end user requirements. So if you take the case study of the one, what is that we have taken? End users were different people, right? So billing person, inventory management professional, right? So here may be a store manager. All these people were end users. So we must be knowing about what end user wants and what end user requires. This is all comes under stakeholder or end user requirements are. Followed by this, the next is transitional requirements. Here we see the transitional state. We see the transitional state from an existing to proposed, right? So this is what we call it as transitional state transfer, means existing system to proposed system is what we call it as transitional state, right? So the transitional state is what we see here, means how the transformation is happening from the traditional point of sale system to the cloud-based POS system. Because based on the case study, we could see there is a regular point of sale system, traditional POS. From there, it was changed to cloud-based point of sale system. So the transitional state is what we need to see here. This is what we call it as transitional requirements are, right? So transitional state from existing to proposed system. This is what we call it as transitional requirements were. Followed by the transitional requirements, the next was solution requirements. In this, what features? Functional, followed by the non-functional requirements. Are we developing for that existing project is all comes under solution requirements. Solution requirements, as you know, like features, because last time even I have shown you what are the features we have, what are the functionalities for the existing application, what is that are we developing. So these are the features, right? So if you see an application of CPOS, these are the features like CRM loyalty, franchise multi-location, hardware cash register, inventory management system, etc. All these were the features. And every feature will be lined up with some functional requirements. Like if you take hardware and cash register, you have a functional requirement called POS and MPOS. Even mobile payment hardware, cash register POS, POS peripherals, all these were functional requirements. At the same time, non-functional requirements given. Non-functional requirements, nothing but what we call non-functional requirements, nothing but like security, performance, scalability of that particular application comes under non-functional requirements. So all these were comes under solution requirements. So whatever the solution requirements are we talking about, if any solution requirements comes under this category. Solution requirements are these, what we call functional and non-functional requirements, features, all these things comes under solution requirements category. So followed by the solution requirements, the next was regulatory requirements, means what standards policies, procedures are we handling when you are working on the project is all comes under regulatory requirements. So these are the different type of requirements is all comes under requirement analysis, means how you are analyzing the requirements and how you are classifying it. So being a business analyst, that is our responsibility, business analyst team's responsibility to classify all these accordingly. This all comes under this. Now the next was design definition. Means design definition means how we are going to design the requirements. So the first of all, we must be knowing about why design is for what reason. Now designing of the requirements, nothing but how you are visualizing it. For example, let us understand in ATM system. Okay, let's understand from in context of an ATM. So what exactly ATM system is being used? So this is being used for the customer either to withdraw money or for deposits. So for that reason, generally ATM system is being used by us. Now assume that customer is using this ATM system for withdrawal purpose, right? So if, for example, if I am the customer, what is that I can do? I go to an ATM system, I insert the card. So whenever I insert the card, it will ask us the PIN number. PIN number will be entered by me. Next, it will ask us to choose the service. What is that we require? Of course, I have selected a service called withdrawal. It will ask us like to enter the money, how much I want to withdraw, enter. But make sure there is a logic here that money should be lesser than the one which is there in my account, right? This is the one condition applied. If that was the case, automatically money will come out of the ATM system so that we collect the money and we move on. Right? So this is the ATM system, right? So being a user, if I am wants to withdraw money through an ATM system, this is what the process am I following, right? Remember, I am a user, right? I am not a person who has done the application of ATM. So in back of it, there is someone who has given some instruction to the ATM system for withdrawal. So it's not only withdrawal, of course, this is applicable for other these things also, even it may be for deposits or whatever it is, right? So whatever it could be. So this is applicable for everywhere. This is applicable for everything. So how is that happened? There is someone who has given some instructions to the system in a form of writing a code which can be understandable to the device. Right? So developer has done the functionality. So what is that I'm trying to say is developer has written a code for the project. Whatever the project are we writing, developer has written a code for the project. Right? So developer has written a code for the project. So code for a project for withdrawal. It's not even withdrawal, maybe for cash deposit. Whatever it is, there is some code which was written by the developer in a form of language, some programming language, which could be understandable to the system, so that user is following the instructions accordingly. Now, here is a question. How come developer understood these complex requirements? Because whatever the example I have taken may be a simple one, right? But whereas in real environment, requirements are not simple, right? Requirements will be complex in percentage. So as people are in huge number, there is a possibility few people understands, few people don't. There is a difference. Some people will understand the logic behind it. Some people may not understand the logic. There is a difference. So which is not, of course, which is not guaranteed. Which is not guaranteed. So what is that we need to do now? We need to understand and we have to visualize the requirements so that technical people will understand well in advance. The best one, it's very simple for you guys to understand. One more example. Be fond of watching movies, right? For example, rather than reading a novel, of course, reading a novel, somebody feels good. I don't say no, but reading a novel rather than that, if you are seeing it as a movie, you will be understood more, right? You enjoy more because you can see the emotions, everything on a movie, right? So visual representation will be more effective. Even a normal layman can understand. I think you have understood. So visual representation plays a vital and important role in understanding the requirements. So the same thing applied even for the development team as well. So development team also should understand the requirements well in advance. So if they want to understand the requirements, make sure we must visualize some requirements so that people could understand well, because this is not one or two functionalities. The functionalities were many. So visualization is what we have to do. That's what we call it as design definition. in short. It means whatever the functionalities or whatever the application solutions are we developing. So that we explain in a form of diagrammatical point of view, in spite of writing down the documents of BRD, SRS, what is that I have shown in the earlier session, right? So I have shown about the BRD part, all that. So those documents anyway we prepare in a form of traditional model, we follow it. I don't say no. But documentation, of course, if there is any changes and all, meanwhile we'll do it. That also we are doing it. But that itself alone will not give an effectiveness to the end user. End user means, I mean to say, developer. Right? So it may not be effective for a developer to understand. Hence, it is always helpful. It is always beneficial. In spite of writing down the documentation apart, the best thing is that it's always preferable to provide in a diagrammatical format. That is what we call it as diagrams. That's what we usually prepare in a form of diagrams. So to prepare these diagrams, there is a language which normally we follow, right? So this is what we call it as UML. UML stands for Unified Modeling Language. So this is a language which is used to visualize the requirements. Right, so this is what generally UML language was. Of course, when you talk about languages, there are different languages. Normally, in application development, I am talking about. One is HTML, right? So this is one kind of language. We call it as hypertext markup language. Used to prepare front pages, etc. This is all about HTML. Next, UML is a modeling language. Next, programming language. So Java, etc. So these are the programming language used to write the code, whatever the code you want to write. So for that, Java, etc. will be used. Next, SQL. SQL is a query language used to extract the information from the database. Normally, when we are talking about the application development, so these are the languages, few I am talking about, right? So there are HTML and all, everything we use, markup languages, which is used to prepare front pages, all that. Even modeling language we use, where if you want to visualize the requirements to the development team, UML is being used for. Of course, programming language, which will be used to write the code for the project. Normally, this is the one will be developed by the development team, right? So developers will write it. Followed by the SQL, we call it a structured query language, which will be used to extract the information from the database. So these are the different languages. What is that we have? Now, what is that are we learning now? Today is about UML. Right? So Unified Modeling Language is what we are learning now. So when you talk about UML as a language, to prepare diagrams, there are few tools are available. Something like, because if you want to prepare a diagram and all, there is a tool required, right? Rational rows, Star UML, MS Visio, Lucidcharts, etc. So these are the one we are going to prepare as diagrams. So UML is something relating to that, right? So prepare diagrams and all. So different tools will be there. Rational rows, Star UML, MS Visio, Lucidcharts. So these are the different tools are available. Among all that, what is that are we using now for our training purpose is what Star UML. Because this is a diagram, this is a tool we are using for preparing UML diagrams, which is easy for anyone to install. It hardly take not more than 2-3 minutes time, maximum 5 minutes. That's the reason why that Star UML software is what am I using for now to prepare UML diagrams for the requirements. So example, what is that I'm taking is the case study. What is that we have taken since beginning? CPOS. The same example I'm taking here. Now you can go to, because of course, Star UML was already installed it. So if you want, you can install Star UML software where you can click on Star UML free download. Simple. So you'll get a link like this, Star UML. So just simply click on it and download that software, right? So that it won't take much time. So if it is Mac or Windows, right? So different versions are available. So that you please click on it and you can download it. Hardly take not more than 5 minutes for you guys to do that, right? So hence Star UML is easy to download. That's the reason why I'm taking it. Remaining things, tools nowadays will have license key, everything. So license keys, getting license keys, again, it's a different thing, right? So it takes a lot of time, effort on, but end of the day, how to prepare diagrams is what you need to learn being a learner of BA. Hence, I already used Star UML, which I'm doing for a very long time. So there is a software of Star UML, which was there. So which I'm going to show you on that. What are the diagrams and all everything, we will see there. So here is a Star UML software, you can see. Clicking on it. Right, so this is what generally the Star UML software is. The Star UML software is this. In this Star UML software, as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of tools are available. There are a lot of diagrams, I told you, right? So there is class diagram. Of course, let me explain in a high level note. We can prepare using Star UML as a software or a tool. We can prepare a lot of diagrams. We can prepare a class diagram, which will be explained about what are the different classes we are using when you are writing down a program. Normally developers will do that class diagram. Even what are the different packages, instances we have used in the programming. So for that package diagram is being used. And what are the objects we are using in a programming language, object diagram is being used. Next, what are the components we are using? Either it may be an hardware or software components for that particular application. So component diagram is being used in it. So when you want to deploy the application, because see, unless until if you don't deploy the application, you cannot show this to the customer. So for that, deploying the application is required. So this is where generally deployment diagrams comes into picture. So there are some deployment steps as to write. We have to write some deployment steps and procedures. So based on that, deployment will be taken place. So deployment diagram relating to that. Next, the use case diagram. So this is the major diagram we prepare, because business analyst, we prepare two major diagrams. One is a use case diagram. Second is a sequence diagram. So these are the two. So why are we taking these two diagrams apart from the remaining diagrams? Because these two diagrams explains you about the functionality of the particular application. So functional process explanation can be done preparing using this use case and sequence diagrams. So the remaining diagrams, of course, it has its own existence, even flow charts, DFTs, all these even we can prepare using this. Now, what is that I am showing you now about a use case diagram followed by sequence. So both we are learning today. So use case diagram is a kind of diagram, first and foremost diagram in UML, which majorly explains is about the primary elements and how these primary elements were connecting one among all. To explain that, generally, this use case diagram is being used for. This use case diagram is being used for that reason. So what are the primary elements we have and all everything? So to explain that, use case diagram is what we use. Of course, sequence diagram will be used for different purposes. I will tell you later. Now, use case diagram, as I mentioned you, it explains about the primary actors and how they are connecting. Let's say you're all belongs to development community, right? So you're all developers, testers, all these people. Wherein I am a BA, wherein I want you guys to develop a cloud-based point of sale system. That is what I said. Now, before I have given all the requirements or something, most of the people in your team might not be knowing about what cloud-based POS system is. You may not, because you may not have an idea what cloud-based point of sale system is and how it looks like, right? So there are possibilities, right? So there is no assurance that everybody will be knowing about that. There are possibilities that I am not using any screen. I've just opened it. I am not doing anything. I have not prepared any diagram so far, so that that screen still stands still. Okay, don't worry. Right. So UML diagram is use case diagram is what we have to prepare. So if I prepare a use case diagram so that you guys can understand well in advance, right? So how a cloud-based POS system looks like externally, if I show you, so that you'll be understood this better. So use case diagram primarily explains about how an application looks like from an external point of view. In reference to the cloud POS, I'm taking now. So here is what generally the diagram we prepare. So wherein you need to go for model, add diagram. So you need to choose use case diagram here. Use case diagram, you can see. Click on use case diagram. And whatever the diagram we choose, this toolbox, you can see on the left-hand side. This toolbox will be changed according to the diagram, what is that we have chosen. As I mentioned you, use case diagram is the primary one, compulsory, which explains about the high level point of view of that particular application, how it looks like externally, right? So to show that generally this use case is being used. Now, To prepare a use case diagram, first of all, you must be knowing about who are users, who are going to use this CPOS. So I have identified 3 people. One is a billing person. Second is an inventory management professional. And the third one is a store manager, right? So these 3 people are using POS system, maybe for different reasons, right? Billing person is using for billing purpose, whereas inventory person is being used for knowing about the stock position, all that. At the same time, what we call store manager is using for report generation, all that. So use case diagram is what we are preparing now. After that sequence, I'll show you. So to prepare a use case diagram, whoever are the users, those people we need to identify using a form called actor. You could see this, right? Actor, right? So we have to create 3 actors. Click on this actor here. Click here. First actor is billing person. You need to create a second actor as inventory head or someone. Third actor you need to create store manager. Right, so 3 different actors we have: billing person, inventory management person, and store manager. So 3 different people we have here. Now these 3 people wants to perform the activities. So for that they must connect with point of sale system, otherwise there is of no value. So you need to connect one more actor called CPOS, means cloud-based point of sale system. Now the CPOS is having a dependency with inventory management, you know it. Hence I am creating one more actor as inventory system. At the same time, one more is payroll, because employee billing person is an employee. So you need to connect with payroll system. Right. So these are the 2 different things. So the left hand side, whatever you see, my left side. Right. So billing person, inventory, store manager, all these were users. If they perform something, so they need to connect with these systems. Right. So now these systems have interdependency. Right. So because CPOS system is connecting is depending on payroll management system and inventory. Hence, you have an option called dependency. You could see here, dependency. So where you need to create a dependency here. CPOS system is connecting with payroll and inventory, right? So dependency. This is what we call it as dependency transfer. Now, what a billing person can do, billing person can bill the products. So prior to that, he need to log in. So whatever the activities they perform, we call it as use case. Here you can see an option called use case. Click on it. One is login. Second, performing billing, right? So billing, right? So performing billing is what a billing person do. Now, inventory management head wants to know about the stock position, right? So because inventory head responsibilities lies on it. Store manager wants to download multiple reports, right? So hence reports generation is what they have to do. Now, what a billing person has to do, billing person has to log in. So here you have an option called directed association, where a billing person has to log in. So if a billing person wants to log in, make sure he has to provide with login credentials, right? So his valid employee ID will be used. So this login is connecting with payroll. So through payroll, he is connecting with CPOS system, right? So this is what, because before he wants to do the billing, make sure he has to connect with the login. Unless until there is no login, so billing person cannot do the billing part. So if a person wants to do billing, login has to done. This is where the dependency comes into picture, right? So billing person has to log in. Once the login, billing can be performed by this, right? So billing of products. Billing of products. Now, what an inventory management person do? He want to see the stock position. So directed association again wants to see the stock position, where he need to connect with inventory system. Here they can see list of stock which is available, etc. Right. So all these things they can see here. Now a store manager can generate reports. So for that, he has to connect with CPOS, because reports can be anything, different reports. Either it may be, maybe assume that sales reports, right? Sales reports, etc. Right. So these are this is what generally an use case diagram is all about. So if you are asking me, for example, Raj, what and how a cloud-based point of sale system looks like externally, right? If I'm asking you, if you're asking me, sorry, the best thing is that rather than explaining to you orally, it is always better for me if I prepare this diagram and show it to you, so that it is easy for you guys to understand, right? So how externally an cloud-based POS system is functioning, right? So this is a basic and standard diagram which normally we prepare. So this is a standard diagram. And once these diagrams we prepare, what is that we can do? We can simply incorporate these in the documents, like whatever the BRDs we have prepared, right? So there you can incorporate these diagrams. So where you can convert this into as a JPEG file, I'm just converting it. Use case diagram, CPOS. Okay. I've just converted. Right. So this is how it was. Right. So simply you can copy and you can paste it in your document, whichever the document we are preparing. So there you can paste it simply. Okay. So this is use case diagram for CPOS in short, right? Cloud-based point system. Okay. This is what the diagram which I have prepared. Okay. So this is what cloud-based point of sale system diagram was. Now, when it come back to the sequence diagrams were different, as I told you, right? So how many sequences we have? Login one sequence, billing one sequence, stock position one sequence, reports one sequence. Now I am preparing a sequential diagram for billing, right? So because billing person has to do billing, he has to know that how to do billing part, right? That's required. So there is a functionality if developer wants to write. So we are showing it in a diagram format. So based on that, he write the code, all that. So I am showing you for billing, right? So billing person performing billing is what I am showing now. Again, you can go to model. I'm doing only for billing. Okay, remember, because there are lot. How many sequences we have? Login we can prepare as separate. Billing we can prepare as separate. Stock position as separate. Reports as separate. But I'm taking, of course, as an example, I'm taking only billing. How the billing will be performed by a billing person at the counter. That's what I'm preparing now. Now, for that, there is a sequence diagram where we have to prepare, go to model, add diagram, sequence diagram. Now here in this sequence diagram, what we can do, we are preparing sequence diagram here. For that, there is a lifeline we have to connect, lifeline. First lifeline is billing person. Is connecting to billing person is there. This billing person is connecting to CPOS. Okay, cloud-based point of sale system is connecting. So using CPOS system, he is performing the billing. That's what I am trying to say. Now, if a person wants to do billing, what is that he has to do? First of all, he has to log in. There is an option called message. You can see here. Enter login details, right? Now, whenever we have entered the login details, whenever we have opened, automatically it will ask us to provide the login details. We have logged in. So now you get a reply message. What is that you are getting from CPOS is a reply message. Because here, if you remember, there is a verification and validation which will happen, right? So verification and validation. So this is where generally we call it a self message. Self message, right? So in this self message, verification and validation happens. Verification validation means whether whatever the login credentials was given by the billing person is right or not. To see that, verification validation happens. Because every logic, there are two things. One is if, second is else. If verification details were right, next post, next, what is next? Else, for example, verification validation was not successfully completed, you get a message, right? So your password was incorrect, please try to check, right? That's how generally. So every logic has two. One is if, second is else. So verification validation happens. Now, system is asking you to choose the service. To choose the service. This is a reply message. Now, billing person has chosen enter product details. Whatever the products customer has taken, those product details was entered by the customer to CPOS system. Now here you got a reply message again. Once the products was entered, so automatically it will show you all the list of products, everything. Billing person has mentioned the quantity. For example, someone has taken bath soaps 4, if we entered 4 baths of and press enter, automatically the total unit price will be uploaded there, right? So that we can do. So here total bill amount will be shown once the product details was entered. Now he has to choose the type of payment mode. Right? So either it may be in a form of cash or wallet or card, whatever it is. Now get a reply message. Billing completed successfully. Right? So after that, if there is a possibility, because the billing is a continuous process. If not, for example, billing person wants to log out, or he can continue even. That is different, right? So either easy logging in or continue. That's a different thing. Usually, let me see it is a log out, for example, right? So if I'm being a business analyst, if I want to explain you how the billing process happens, what is that I can do? I can simply prepare a sequence diagram this. So if I've given this to you so that you guys will understand much better. So how many sequence diagrams, how many we require? Those many sequence diagrams we are preparing. SD, CPOS. Copy. You can paste it. Right. So this is what generally the sequence diagram stands for. So of course, like this, of course, there are different sequence diagrams we can prepare. So this is how generally the diagrams we have to prepare. Either it may be a use case diagram. Use case diagram, normally one, you don't have many. But sequence diagrams, you can prepare many, right? So for billing, of course, I have prepared. Like this, there may be any. So whenever we have prepared a document, there you can copy this. Along with the documentation, what is that you are providing to the team as a part of requirements communication under managing the requirements. What is that I have explained under requirement lifecycle management. Along with that, you can prepare even, we can give even this so that people will understand this much better. So this is how generally the requirement analysis design definition means what are the designs do we do? All these in a form of UML diagrams we can prepare. Because earlier we used to prepare flow charts, DFDs, all that in the beginning days. Because flow charts and DFDs is only for a particular this thing, right? So because it doesn't have any dynamic thing, right? So because here the advantage in UML is that you can prepare as many diagrams. Right. So for sequence, there is a separate diagram. For use case, there is a separate diagram. For deployment, there is a separate diagram. For component diagram, for components, we have an exclusive separate diagram. Like this, there are different diagrams which can be used. Depends on our usage. So this is all about diagrams. As a part of requirements analysis design definition, being a BA, not only to prepare documentation, so these diagrams can also be prepared by you guys accordingly. So this is all about requirement analysis design definition. Here we are going for Q&A. As you said, the question is from Devilal Sharma. As you said, visual representation is much more effective way to understand. Then why don't we get chance to watch some of the visual training classes from you, sir? Hope you got my point. That's what I am doing, right? That is what I have shown you. Because before I am going to prepare a diagram, I need to provide some introduction. So that is what we call it as theory. I cannot simply jump into the diagram, right? I think, of course, before I have not started this diagram, I think this question might be written by you. I understood. This is how, for your question, this is the answer. It was not frozen because unless until I have not prepared, that's the reason why it seems to be frozen to you. No, flowcharts earlier, this is a question from Mike. Flowcharts and all everything in the basic days we are used to do it. Nowadays, we are not using any flowcharts something. We can prepare UML diagrams and all. So this is the best way of doing it. We are doing it now. Next, any questions? Is there any questions from your end you'd like to ask? Yeah, so yes. Do we make sequential diagrams, sequence diagrams? But yeah, for all the functionalities, yes. So see, because sequential process is different. That's what, say, for example, you are a developer. So what is that we need to do? For example, you need to develop a functionality for billing. How can you do that? If I prepare a sequence diagram, it is more useful. See, this is one way of making you to understand. So because I don't say that sequence diagrams are important. I don't say sequence diagrams or UML diagrams are important. Nowadays, for example, if you see Agile, so are we using any diagrams? No. In Agile, we are simply writing user stories. Nowadays, we are not writing UML and all that. But in traditional model, yes, because we don't know what kind of opportunity we get, what kind of questions people may ask you. So it is always better to learn how to prepare diagrams so that may not be now, maybe in future it may be useful to you. That is all I can say. So is the UML diagrams for coding team? Yeah, for the better understanding for the coding team, we are preparing it so that they could understand the functionalities, all that. No, we are not learning Power BI because Power BI, Tableau and all everything is used for data visualization. That's not part of our business. Because those are for data visualization, Power BI, Tableau, all that. No. Yeah. So yes, the question is mostly these UML diagrams. See, these diagrams normally we put it in SRS rather than BRD because there we prepare functional, non-functional, right? So there obviously you can put there. So these diagrams we can copy and paste there. So it is more useful to you. So that I can say. Yeah, that's it. Any questions? Apart? Any questions apart? I have told you, right? How do we know means these two diagrams we prepare. One is use case. Why are we preparing use case diagram? I told you. As you see, there is an importance of preparing use case diagram. You will be preparing. That's what BA do. Sequence diagram for sequential process. How do we know means? Being a business analyst, it is our responsibility to explain what is that we need to explain. If I am a developer, what is that I want? You need to understand. What is that I want? I want to have a clarity on the functionality. So for that, which is nearer to that, sequence is a related. You have to prepare. Use case diagram, it's once for all. It's not simply only for a developer or someone. Right? Most of the people assume that no idea about how CPU-based system looks like. So best part is that prepare a use case. That's the answer. Next. So use case is big picture diagram and sequence diagram is yeah. Yes. Answer is yes. Yeah, normally see presentation, providing presentation to the team and all everything is a continuous thing. See, you have prepared this diagram, you'll be explaining. So because simply we don't prepare diagrams or documents and we don't give, right? We'll have regular meetings once in a while. So these diagrams, whenever we prepare, we try to explain this is how the sequential process goes and that stuff. So based on that, they will be taking decisions accordingly. That is all I can say. Okay, fine. I think this is what the whole requirement analysis design definition. This is about this because this is completely a visualization kind of stuff. So you don't see any theory in this. Of course, introduction will be the theory. After that, preparing diagrams, and these diagrams you can incorporate. Normally, we have full versions available because if you can see here closely, you can see in back of it unregistered working, right? So you can see unregistered because it's a trial version, hence you are getting it. If it's a full version, you don't get it. So normally, all the organization will use the full versions, right? Paid versions, I can say. Paid versions will be used by them, not the trial versions. Of course, for training purpose, we use trial versions. That is the difference. Hope you guys have understood what I said. Right. So this is all for today. And tomorrow we are just going to discuss about solution design and definition. So what solution we are giving, right? So solution assessment and validation. Right? So that we discuss. Of course, that's a theory. So there is nothing much because there was already a solution was given. So that I'll discuss. Followed by this, we'll go to healthcare topics. So this is all about. Okay. So we meet again on tomorrow and we discuss about that. Followed by this, we'll go to health. See you.